We did this once before, and we're actually doing it again now because I didn't record it. And all those people that asked for a recording, like, sorry, you'll just have to wait till we get them back on the schedule. So Dave is remote out camping in the woods somewhere. I'm looking down here, but I got a camera up here because Matt's gonna stand up. So
there you go. That's my back view.
Out in the mountains somewhere.
Lake Powell.
Lake Powell. Nice.
Wow.
So Dave and Matt have teamed up in I think multiple businesses, but the one that we're going to talk about today is their proprietary type of program that they used for LinkedIn and communications and responding to people and building those relationships, both for business and for getting deals, right? It's like business partners, but also like sellers, buyers. LinkedIn's not very automated, is it? but anyway, I'm going to let them explain kind of what they've done to overcome some of those hurdles so that they can set appointments with people and build those relationships. So can I share that screen? Let me share their slides. And I'm sharing, give me 1 second, guys. This is always a challenge for me. So that's what you're gonna have to pull that up when you're ready to share the other slide. I think.
I'm just getting another screen.
This is the one you.
Okay.
So much more interactive.
And I can hear Dave, right?
Yeah, you should be able to hear me too, Matt. Can you?
Can we turn this up?
Can we see our Zoom people?
Here, let me go in here.
Can
No,
you hear
sharing that screen.
Okay.
None of their videos are on anyway. I think that just turned it up there louder for us. Dave, give me a sound check.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah,
that's better.
better.
Yep. Okay, take it away.
Cool. Well, I'll get started then. So like Jeff was saying, Dave and I are going to talk about LinkedIn and getting the most out of LinkedIn as a business owner. And so you can see our two brands. Bookin is our LinkedIn automation software, which we'll be mostly focusing on today. And Sluicebox is kind of our all-in-one business solution. It would be kind of a competitor to KV Core. You could use both, but primarily we're going to be talking about Bookin.
It's the top one.
It's the top. Oh, it's this one?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I did that one. Okay, so just about us. I don't know, Dave, if you want to get into that.
Yeah, for sure. So to give you kind of an idea as to who Matt and I are, Matt has spent a lot of time in the finance aspect of business. He was working with KPMG, spent a lot of time there. They mainly focus on, the big 500 firms. And then, a lot of time was spent in the auto dealer realm as well. Matt and I met, it's been almost a year and a half ago now. I owned a vending machine company, and Matt actually ended up buying my route from me. And that's really how LinkedIn started. To give you kind of an idea as to who I am. So I spent a lot of time in real estate as well. I am an agent. I hang my license with EXP. So I spent a lot of time on the agent side as well as the investing side, done a lot of flips, rental properties, things like that. And then Matt and I joined forces, like I say, about a year and a half ago, and created a company and a solution for getting on the phone with people. We found that it was really, I feel like that's one of the hardest parts in business as far as lead generation goes, is creating conversations, getting to know people. Unless you're out and about talking to people, going to networking events, you don't really have a platform and an area to do that. Especially with COVID, all of that event type stuff got shut down. And so it really came to, okay, how do we get creative and start finding ways to reach out to people and get on the phone with them and start building relationships. And because of, all starting from the vending niche, we were trying to find location services essentially to go place vending machines. We tried Facebook ads. I've run, a large Facebook ad campaign for my real estate, trying to find buyer and seller leads. It was about a $15,000 campaign. Didn't really have a ton of success there. I've worked on building out Instagram and YouTube and some other platforms, and realized that those can be good, but they're not as good as LinkedIn, because if you look at LinkedIn, it's basically like a database of business owner type people. And so whether you're looking for, just generating business as a whole, whether you're looking to generate buyer and seller leads, or you're just looking to build your connection database with certain certain people in your geographic area, it is an amazing tool. One of the things that I'm starting to do as far as the real estate side goes is I'm building campaigns to target local businesses. So, I live in Oakley, Utah, so Summit and Wasatch County. Those are really my main areas of focus. I spent a lot of time in Salt Lake too, but I really want to build out the Summit and Wasatch County markets. And that's a hard thing to do because the agents that have been there forever and have really built a foothold. But there's so many new people moving into these markets that if you can connect with the business owners and build a relationship with them, now all of a sudden they become a referral source for you. And again, this goes to real estate or any other business you do. If you can connect with the sphere of influence, you can reach out and target their sphere of influence. And so you have a much larger outreach capability than if you were just trying to do it on your own, running ads and things like that. So other things that LinkedIn can be used for, brand awareness, finding new clients, expanding your network, messaging groups. So similar to Facebook, LinkedIn actually has a group functionality, and you can go in and join these groups, or, if you're a LinkedIn premium user, you can actually target group lists. And so you can basically capture all of the data, the contact info from people that have joined those certain groups, and it gives you a whole new traffic source to start working. You can also nurture relationships. There's a lot of people on LinkedIn, versus Facebook or Instagram, and you use the DM messaging function, and you can just send these private messages back and forth and create a relationship, and eventually get on a phone call or meet up in person, or really whatever your demographic is that you're trying to target. So to give you kind of an idea, LinkedIn as a whole, if anybody's used it, how difficult it is to be consistent. I mean, this is kind of how we started out. I mean, if you're sending, maybe, 30 to 100 connection requests a day, or trying to respond to messages manually, it can take a lot of time. I mean, you could spend 3, 4, 5, 6 hours even if you're really trying to build up your LinkedIn database. And so you start turning in and looking at other solutions out there that run automated sequences. If you're looking for the done for you route, you can find anything from 500 to 3,000. And we tested, there's so many out there, but we tested a large majority of these software platforms before we got started trying to find a solution that would work for us. And we realized that there wasn't one. And so we partnered with a dev team to create one that met our needs and really worked the best, that basically fit the needs that we needed. So when you break it down, some of those different software platforms are, Meet Alfred, Connected, Duck Soup, and the do-it-yourself models could be anywhere from 55 to 500. So you basically have this $50 range to 3,000 a month range. And it's like, okay, well, how do I find the one that works best? What we found, most of them that didn't meet the criteria is because it didn't have a great user interface. The experience was terrible. They would get flagged on LinkedIn because, instead of being a native app, it was running off of like a Chrome extension or something like that. And so it was constantly running. And so LinkedIn would see that and flag it because, it basically looked like something that shouldn't be there. And so when we created this book in software, it really made, a lot more sense because it's native to its own app. It doesn't run off a Chrome extension, and, it just becomes a lot easier in the functionality of it.
And on the team aspect, it's much easier to manage a team if you have multiple users when it's running in the cloud, because then everything is on one platform. It's just a drop-down list. You pick the user that you want to manage. You can send all of your messages out of one inbox. You're not having to worry about one user getting kicked out or LinkedIn thinking they were logged into too many spots at once and then getting flagged from there. And so it just overall, we developed it to make it the best of kind of everything that we wanted in a software platform. So this is how we view the LinkedIn funnel, and just as well as your funnel in general. So if you look at the top, you have your LinkedIn profile, you have your LinkedIn business page, and then you have your website. So anytime you make or have a source, right, you want to make sure that they're all tied together. And that's just for a couple reasons, right? SEO works a lot better because then you're having backlinks, and then you're more relevant. And then just so everything, you know, brand wise, you're consistent. And so all three of those sources on our end, they all point and direct and they all have the exact same goal. And then when you start using Boolean, right, you get towards the targeted search that loads into Boolean, and then you can start automating that whole funnel down. Basically send a connection request. Once they accept the connection request, then we send a series of automated messages in hopes to get them on a call or an in-person meeting. And then once they've done that, right, we can either put them into Sluicebox or you can put them into KV Core. It wouldn't matter which CRM software you're using. So anytime you see the Sluicebox logo, you could replace that with any CRM or you can use ours. But basically we want to continue to nurture that person until they become a client. And so in the middle, right, that's your interactions on LinkedIn, right? So you have LinkedIn posts, you have events, and whatnot, and right, same goal. And then on the other side, you have your own thing, actions that you can do. So like you could, you know, wish somebody a happy birthday, congratulate them on a new promotion that they had at work, right? Those are things that we don't automate, but you could definitely do the same thing to try and, you know, get on a call and then nurture them. And then on the top left, we kind of show just a very broad, you know, what source you need to use for which one. So you can see Sluicebox can manage Facebook, Google, your phone number, your Google ads, your Facebook ads, Facebook Messenger, all of that. And then Boolean, we can take a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group or Twitter followers, but we can inject those into Boolean to then start automating some tasks. And then, right, Sluicebox and Boolean speak to each other, so we can inject all of your connections based on the tag, whatever, to Sluicebox or whatever CRM you're currently using, so that we can then continue them down another funnel. But essentially that's our funnel. That's how we look at LinkedIn and data and your customer management in general.
Man, I got a question.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys can hear my question. What I want to know is, you're talking about automation and the responses and the nurturing that goes on. Do you guys create those types of messages, and can we edit those to sound more like us?
Yeah.
You know, our message.
Yeah, David, if you want to take that.
Yeah, we're going to jump into the actual software here in a minute and just show you what that looks like. But yeah, essentially you can create any type of campaign template that you want. Because, you know, I spent a lot of time in real estate, I created what, you know, is essentially a template. We can copy that template over to your profile. And then at that point, you know, you could go in and edit the messaging however you want to make it sound more like you, or to target some sort of a different call to action. Because essentially that's what you're trying to do, right? The messaging, you know, from start to finish, you essentially have to send a message out at the beginning to say, hey, you know, I want to connect with you. I noticed your profile and I want to connect with you because we have similar interests, right? And then from there, they respond back and say they have accepted your request. And now it goes into a conversation where you can go back and forth with them. You know, and really it's whatever that call to action is. Is it a phone call? Is it leading to, you know, some other like website? One of the things that I've started to use the campaign for is to get interviews for my podcast that I have. And, you know, in the last month or so, I've generated about 45 appointments for people to come be interviewed on my podcast. And so as long as you have some sort of a call to action, you can change the messaging to meet that criteria however you want to.
So then stats wise, what does that look like generally? These are more, I would say, real estate rates or stats. So in real estate, generally, we see an acceptance rate of around 15 to 20%. And then once they accept that, we send them a message of some sort, right? The response rate is around 33%. And then that correlates to about 2 to 4 appointments a week that you could expect to get. We've had clients and ourselves, we've booked 30 a week. So, right, the low end is, around 2, and it can go as high as 30 to even 40.
A lot of that's dependent upon, who the audience is, what the messaging looks like, how many connections you have on LinkedIn, what your profile looks like. There's a lot of different metrics that play in, but yeah, on average, we're seeing in that closer to 10 range a week. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing.
So what does it look like on Booking before we get in? So we'll get in and demo it, but just on a high level, this is what the sales funnel on Booking looks like. So you do a LinkedIn search to find your prospects. And then once you find that, you load those prospects into LinkedIn. So that could also be a Facebook group, or like I said, Twitter followers, or if you just have a list of LinkedIn URLs, or even just names and the company, we can generate a URL. Those go into Booking, and then we send a connection request. Once they've accepted that connection request, then it's an introduction type message. Usually we suggest putting a message that asks to get on a get to know you call, and then we leave them a calendar link so they can just automatically book. And so appointments just get scheduled to your phone, so you're not having to do a lot of work. And then once that happens, then we create a follow-up sequence. So, right, all of that leads to a discovery call or strategy session, and then, right, you would then close the deal. So we do kind of the things in blue, and then black is the end user's job. So, and then now I'm going to sit down and we'll kind of go through. So if you have questions as we're going through the software,
and Matt, maybe what we do on this demo, I just was thinking this. Jeff and Lynn are in Draper, so why don't we just run a search around Draper and just come up with like business owners around Draper?
Change the screen share.
Okay.
There it is.
Everyone sees the screen. Okay, so when you log into Booking, this is the dashboard that you would see. And then like we said, if you were managing users, you would click this drop-down menu. Anybody on your team, you'd be able to select them from the drop-down menu and go from there. But the first thing that we do when we do LinkedIn automation is we start with the LinkedIn profile. So if your profile isn't optimized, likely you're not going to be as successful, just because people won't know what you're doing. They won't, going back to the funnel, they won't be able to interact between your LinkedIn profile page and your website. And so kind of the key components here are your background image, your profile image, your headline, your about section, and then a lot of people don't have the featured section. So you can see, my featured section, they can click on my calendar link and book a call. And when I send a message, the message looks like this because we've made the favicon for the website this image. So that's why it pops up like that on LinkedIn. So it's just sets us apart a little bit. And then just, the experience section and making sure you have links to the websites. So high level, make sure that when you do start using LinkedIn, that you really optimize your profile first, because if you don't optimize your profile, then you're not going to be as successful. So Dave, you said just real estate agents?
Yeah, or even just business owners right there in the Draper area.
Okay, we'll just do owners. So LinkedIn lets you do Boolean searches in the search bar. So if I put quotes, it's gonna find people that have owner in their profile. Then I could search for people, and then connections. I could either, target my first degree connections or my second and third degree. So we'll just search for the second and third degree to see how many are in Draper.
And that just means connections of connections that you already have.
Yeah. So your first degree connections are all of the people in your network. So if you're thinking like Facebook, because we're all more probably familiar with Facebook, those would be your Facebook friends. Your second degree connections would be your friends' friends. And then the third degree would be your friends' friends' friends. If that makes sense.
Like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, just think of a pyramid, right? First degree, second degree, third degree. So if I do third degree, I'm gonna get a lot more people than if I do second degree. So in this search, right, there's about 2,800 results. So there's, John Beck, he's a CPA, right? Tall trade administrators. I don't know what all these people do, right? But I could check, make sure that this is the search that I would want.
And how far did you go, or did you just do Draper?
I just did Draper. So there's 2,800 people that we could target and send a message to. So all I would need to do to start targeting these people is copy the URL up the top. And then I would come to bookend. I would go to the search feature or page on the dashboard, click new search. I would name it, owners in Draper, Utah, paste in the URL, and then I would click search. And then that would start scraping all of the results in that search, so the 2,800. Since this is a basic search, it would only get the first 1,000. If I did it in Sales Navigator, it would probably scrape that whole list. Same with Recruiter. And then you can do the same thing from a CSV file if you have their LinkedIn URL. You can do it off of a post engagement. As long as someone's commented on that post, we can scrape everybody that commented and then reach out to them. And then if you're part of a group, you can do a group and then an event. So once you've gotten all of your search results, you would see them and you'd view it. So if I did like Utah Connect, I could assign all of these results to a campaign. And then we go into campaigns. So campaigns are broken up into two types, a connector campaign and a messenger campaign. Connector campaigns, we can send a connection request, and then once they accept that connection request, we'll send a series of messages, and that is whatever you decide you want your messaging to look like. And then a messenger campaign, you're just messaging all of your connections. So
that went in there and scraped all their information. Is it reaching out to them on other contact platforms like their cell number, an email, or just through LinkedIn?
So Bookin only deals with LinkedIn, but that's a great question. But we do scrape all that information. So this is my live feed. This is set up through a webhook. So if I go down to the bottom, right, you can see stuff from today. So 4/6, right? These are all my connections as they happen live, but we scrape all this information. So we tend to see that around 60% of users have a cell phone listed, and about 95% have an email address. So you could then link this into KV Core or Sluicebox or whatever your preferred CRM management tool is. And then you could start an omni-channel campaign. So, right, I now connected with them. I have their phone number. All right, let's send them a text message, or let's send them an email and give them an offer. So that's where that functionality comes in. And we do scrape the searches, but you get a lot less because you're not connected with them, and the information is only what they have publicly available. So if you did 2,500, that would result in usually about 150 emails and about 60 phone numbers. So when you come into a campaign, you can start managing them. And you can view them you can sort through everybody. So this is the whole campaign. This is everybody that's replied to me. So once someone replies to a campaign, we pause that automation and we give you the opportunity to either take over the reins and to the finish line, or you can resume them back into the campaign if they just use like a canned response or something. Just put them back in. But we give you that opportunity to make that decision. So you would just either push play or respond. So you can respond right in Bookin. You don't need to go to LinkedIn. Everything can be done here. You can collect, or you can make your own reply templates. So like a calendar link or a link to a website. So you're not having to go and type that or find that every time. It's very easy. You can tag them. You can do a lot of minor CRM management in Bookin. But we do recommend that if you're gonna use it, that you pair it with your own CRM, whether it be Sluicebox or KV Core or HubSpot, whatever it is. Use it in combination with one of those. And then Jeff, getting to your question, how do we customize the messages? This is where you customize the messages. So I can put whatever message I want here. I can use their first name, their last name, their job title, their company name, or I can make my own dynamic placeholder. So let's say that, if everyone in the room, right, I knew, Jeff, you skied, Lynn, you play volleyball, I don't know, you do, Robert, but, something like that, right? If I knew everyone's hobbies, I could put everyone's hobbies in that placeholder and download the list, put it in there, and then Bookin would take that list, and for everybody that I had that placeholder, it would send them one message, and then if it recognizes that it doesn't have that, it'll send them a more generic message. So that's how you can make that more personalized. So you send your connector message. We recommend it's general. You don't do any pitching there. You just try and relate to them in the hopes that they're going to accept it. But once they accept that message, I can then send them as many messages as I want. And we can delay those from immediately all the way to 2 years out. And you can literally add as many messages as you want. So you can make it as complex or simple as you need it to be.
But the goal is to have a call to action in there, right?
Yeah.
Because this is an automated relationship. It's kind of like counterintuitive for me. It's like you want to build a relationship with somebody, we're sending them automated responses, but to set up a phone call, to set up a visit or something like that would be the kind of the point of this, right?
Yeah, exactly. So in mine, right, immediately in my first message, I just say, thanks for connecting. I'd love to set up a quick 15, 20 minute get to know you call. And then I provide my calendar link. So the majority, I would say 85 to 90% of our calls are just off that get to know you. And the get to know you call, right, you're going to ask them about their business, and then naturally that will lead them into asking about your business. And then most of the time it ends up that Dave or I give a demo for one of our software products, or at least we get to know them and we can refer business, or we can collaborate and kind of bounce ideas off each other. Dave, do you have any other comments on that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, Jeff, kind of like you said, right? I mean, the whole idea of using an automated tool to build the relationship, it's more of thinking about it like all it's doing is it's creating the space where you can actually have a phone call or something to get to know that person. A lot of the calls that I have, I end up just saying, hey, like, what is your business? Like, who are the type of people that you're looking to connect with? Let me see if I can go through, my network and connect you with somebody. Oh, sweet, this is what I'm doing too. Yeah, and then it's a perfect lead in, like Matt said. And usually they're like, well, hey, I'd love to see that. I actually need that, or I know somebody that needs that. I'd love to see a demo. So it creates the space and the environment for you to actually take that relationship to, that next level instead of just being a cold contact. And going back to the podcast thing, right? What I usually do is I have somebody book a call and I spend, 5 to 10 minutes on the phone with them and say, okay, great. You sound like a good fit for the podcast. Let's set up a call to do that. And by the time they get on that second call for that podcast interview, it's like we've known each other forever. And so the relationships can grow really, really quickly. because you've made contact, via phone or in person or Zoom or whatever. And so, instead of just being like a totally cold message or a cold contact, it becomes very, very warm, very, very quickly.
And when your profile is optimized, most of the time they already know what it is you do exactly.
Already stalked you a little bit.
They've already stalked you a little bit. They already know. I mean, I would say a lot of my calls, and Dave, you can share your experience. They're like, tell me about your LinkedIn software. Tell me about Sluicebox, or like I want to know more about that. It's not even really a get to know you call. They're wanting to just go straight into it.
Yep, I would definitely agree with that.
So generally just message structure, connection request, send them a message, try and get them on the phone. And then from there, we either recommend you send them like a magnetic offer. So if you were doing it in the case of real estate, you would, send them a link to like the five mistakes home buyers make on their first purchase, or things to consider when you're listing your house, right? Something like that to build your credibility. And then the next message, you would then send them, hey, did you read that article that I sent? Or did you visit this? Wanted to get your thoughts. Can we have a quick call, right? So just, keep building that relationship offline until you can get them to an actual phone call or an actual meeting. But you're just trying to build that relationship, build the rapport, and build your credibility.
Well, my thought is on the real estate is that we've got a lot of people moving here to Utah from out of state, and I have a California buyer, and that is where he found his agent in California, was under the bed. Okay, and it was over $1 million property. So I would think that if people are looking to come here and they don't have a referral, they don't have an agent, that LinkedIn is probably that business platform that they'll probably look to. And just, even if you got one $1 million buyer or one $500,000 buyer, it's worth,
Well, it's supposed to be more of a professional platform than like Facebook or something like that, which tends to be more social, right? So that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. No, for sure. You can definitely use that. We've definitely had real estate agents use it, and they get buyer and seller leads just naturally through it. I mean, usually it's not even their primary objective. It just, they see, oh, hey, I see you're a real estate agent. I've got someone that needs help, right? And then it just transitions from there.
That and just building the professional network, right? I mean, as a new agent or somebody even that's experienced, if you're just trying to grow, get to know other people out there. I mean, I think today's market, especially, the way to win from a buyer standpoint or even a listing standpoint, if you know a bunch of agents and you can pitch the deal out before it even hits the MLS and saying that it's going to hit the MLS, like, chances are you can have a better shot at actually getting your buyer a deal or selling it to somebody instead of having this crazy, chaotic mess that's happening right now.
Exactly. So moving on, so we do on booking, you do get 100 connection requests and 100 messages that you can send a day. We do recommend that you kind of scale that back. LinkedIn has been cracking down on just everybody in general on the platform, whether you're using automation or not. They're implementing what they're calling fuse limits. So if you hit that fuse limit, they'll then only let you send a certain amount of connection requests a day. And we've hired a couple data scientists to look into that. And there's no pattern that they've seen so far between what you're doing and getting a fuse limit. So just keep that in mind if you are sending a ton of connection requests, that you need to have a high acceptance rate, and you need to warm up your account, which are all things that Booking can do. And then what we've been telling people to do is just go after groups. LinkedIn specifically says in their help articles, if you're trying to build your network, start with groups. And so they're pushing that. And we've seen that if you just work off of groups, you're less likely to hit that fuse limit. And then you can control send more connection requests to people that are in groups that you're a part of. And then for campaigns where you're not, send fewer. So that way you're less likely to hit that, but you can control that at the campaign level by just toggling these amounts and hitting apply. And then of course you can see all the stats, right? So this campaign fluctuates between like a 50 and 60% acceptance rate. And then the reply rates around 60%.
Which is also something to notice that's higher, right? Because if you're going just after a cold list, you're in the 15, 20, 30 range, but with the group, you're in the 50, 60 range. And it's, just a much higher likelihood that you're going to get more appointments and more phone calls. This campaign is
Because
20 to 30.
we have something in common.
Yeah, you send out the message and it just says, hey, so this group is best lead generation strategies. So my message is really, hey, I wanted to connect. I see that we're both members of the best lead generation strategies group. Wanted to connect because I have, some questions to share with you. And then immediately they accept it. Like, hey, what questions do you have? I'm happy to answer them, right? You've given them the opportunity to help you. And so it just magnifies that acceptance rate. So that's that. Dave, did you want to go over anything else on Bookin?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so yeah, just to recap, you can use Bookin to do all that. It does scrape all of your connections, so you can put that into KV Core or any CRM management tool that you are using. We use Sluicebox. It looks like this. This is the dashboard. This one is just pre-populated with random data, but you can do your Google My Business reviews on here. You can send that.
Real quick, Matt, while you're showing that, I'm just going to jump in. I don't know if anybody's really messed much with the Google My Business, but if you're trying to build your name and build your brand, again, whether you're a real estate agent, whether you own a business, that is such a powerful tool, I think, that's underutilized right now. If you think about it, whenever somebody goes to search something, what do? They go to Google and they search it. And so if you can build that presence on there and you start building review bases, then you start showing up, your SEO goes through the roof, you get more online traffic that's naturally directing, to a website or a phone call or something. And it's a whole other ball game that you can do that's free, that you don't have to really spend necessarily a ton of time in. You just have to be aware of it. That being said, I think a lot of people get into Google My Business, or they might even know it, not even know what it is, but it's basically a dashboard that Google's created that you can go in, set your business profile up, set up an address, set up, the name, the website, and then people can go in there and review you. And if you think about Amazon, I think I buy everything on Amazon that I buy is because how many reviews it has and what the reviews look like. So, in that sense, you've got to be able to build your presence on there. And if people go to Google and search, hey, real estate agent in Draper, Utah, the merchants pop up and they're the first to pop up. Well, it wouldn't take much to do that because there's not that many agents out there that are utilizing this Google My Business. If you look, the top one in there only has 7 reviews, Coldwell Banker. I mean, you could get to, if you sent out this, and Matt will show you in Sluicebox, if you pushed a button, you could essentially send out your link to Google reviews, and you could have 20, 30, 50 reviews in a matter of a week or two, depending on how big your database is, which would give you just a whole nother perspective and a whole nother platform to show up for prospective buyers and agents and, just customers.
Yeah, so this is just this is what Google calls this the SERP results. So just a little background. So these 3 are ads, right? So they're paying probably $3 or $4 a click to be right here up top. And then these ones, right, these are just based on reviews. So if you had a list of, say, 50 customers we could populate that list into Sluicebox and then generate a review link for them. You would see all the review requests that you had sent out, whether they opened it or not. And then once they do that, you can see all your reviews and you can respond to them all. My guess is that whatever real estate agent in Draper took advantage of that, sent out 50, you'd probably get like 10 or 12 at least that would do it. And then you would pop up here
In the top.
instead of Coldwell Banker. And as you continue to do that in Utah, right, you would gain the first place in every single city. And then anytime someone searched that, you would be, instead of paying, right, you would just naturally be there.
And it's all based off reviews,
It's
number of reviews.
primarily reviews and relevance. So if you completed your Google My Business, you had a bunch of reviews, you started doing
Built out.
Yeah.
So we use, we have the business spot for our business, right? But we use a whole different platform for our reviews. We use like Testimonial Tree, and it shows up on our website, and then that's got a set link. Because of this, should we not be doing that? Should we make sure those all get on Google?
Yeah, you want to start building that relevance, right? So wherever you're getting reviews, Google will see that. So you don't want to just use one platform or one search engine, right? You should be targeting Yelp, you should be targeting Google, you should be targeting the other ones. The reason why Google is so important is if you look at the usage statistics, we did a presentation on this a couple weeks ago. Google has like 80% of the market share. So just by focusing your time and attention on Google, you'll naturally just get more leads and more business just from doing that one simple thing.
That being said, going back to that question, Google, imagine it like this, right? If you're getting native reviews to Google, they're obviously recognizing that and it's a trusted source. But if you have third-party sources that Google pulls from, like Yelp or, some of the other ones that are out there, Google's going to look at that and go, this is a third-party source. This is a trusted source. So that will boost your Google page ranking because it's pulling not only from your Google reviews, but also from these third-party sites that Google looks at as a trusted third-party source. So it really is a combination, right? It's a play that, maybe get to 50 reviews on Google and then go start targeting some of these other platforms that then feed their crawlers. Essentially, if you think about it like a spider, there's a bunch of spiders going out and crawling the internet, and they're looking for keywords and different tags and associations to tie it back to the business. And so, it's like a 6-month play where you're building reviews on all these different platforms, and now all of a sudden, it grows and becomes just this monster and machine. But you have to start somewhere, and I think that's probably the biggest thing to take away from this presentation is there are so many different platforms out there, and you can get lost in the weeds trying to do all of them. Pick a platform that you feel like you can manage and do, and just go to work on it. And I would highly recommend one of those being the Google My Business and LinkedIn, because those are two platforms that you can control. You can control what's happening because you're the one positioning it, sending the messages out. Unlike Facebook or anything else, you're like throwing toilet paper at the wall and hoping it sticks if you're running ads.
Exactly. So going back to the presentation. Is it now showing?
You're sharing.
That okay.
It's sharing. Yep.
Okay. So any questions on the live demo before we move on?
Anybody online?
Anyone online? I'll look at
You guys have anything? You're remembering all this, right? You can see why I needed to record this.
Yeah.
It's not very complicated, so but if you need help, just message us and we're happy to get on the phone and figure out what will work best for you. So just a couple of the one of the most important things is just your mindset going into it. And one of the things we like to say is you're always selling, right? You're never not selling, right? In any situation, someone's going to ask you, what do you do, right? And that's a perfect opportunity for you to pitch whatever you're doing, or for you to just simply ask them what they do and get a meeting. I own a bunch of vending machines, like we've talked about, and sometimes someone will come up while I'm filling a vending machine, and I always ask them what they do, just to learn a little bit about them. And the conversation always naturally flows back to what I do. We've gotten clients from that for our marketing software. I've got vending machine locations off of that. Just being open, personable, talking, and just always having that mindset, no matter what business you're running, no matter what industry you're in, that will always help you, regardless of, what it is you're doing or what you want to accomplish. Just always be in the mindset that you're selling, that you're doing this thing, and everybody needs to know about it. Doesn't matter if you're new or really experienced, they have no idea. So
You really have to believe in yourself too, right? I mean, I think you've got to believe in what you're doing. And if you don't believe in it, you've got to find that belief or do something else. Because just like Matt said, I mean, we are selling every time we walk out the door, every time we do everything. I mean, a perfect example is Matt and I's relationship. I literally posted an ad on KSL, and Matt came to look at a vending machine, and he didn't buy the vending machine. But because he and I met, we just hit it off. We talked, long story short, and months later, he ended up, we became friends. He ended up buying my route, and we started a business together. But that all came from an ad on KSL. Like, you have no idea where the next person, and this is really a good way to think about it, as one of my mentors said, you have no idea, but the next person you meet could be the person that changes your entire life, whether it be financially, just quality of life, because that person could open up a whole new world of opportunity just because you met them. And so you got to think big picture with every single person you meet.
So, and then just to wrap it up, we did talk briefly on Sluicebox and the Google My Business Review. We wanted to give you some value for attending today. So if you take out your phone and you scan that QR code, or you go to that link, you can sign up for a free 14-day trial. It will ask you for your credit card information, but it won't bill you until the end of the 14 days. So if you try it and you want to cancel before the 14 days, you wouldn't pay out any money. So you can spend that 14 days using Sluicebox to generate those GMP reviews. And then, once you know that it works, continue to use Sluicebox. We will give it to you guys for $50 a month instead of $199. So just to highly, highly discount it for everybody here. And we'll keep it at that level. Dave, any comments?
Yeah, I mean, whether you use us, you use something else, just use something. We're in it, we're doing it, we're a part of it, so we get it. So leverage our knowledge base, and we're happy to help however we can. Whether, like I say, whether you use us or not, we want to assist and help and add value. So
Those are separate.
Those are separate. It's just for Sluicebox. If you want to trial Bookin, contact us personally, and we'll set up some guidelines to make sure that you're using it right, and that 14 days is really productive. But if you need that, contact Dave or I. We're happy to jump on a call. We'll provide any knowledge that we have, answer any questions, give you some advice. And if it works out that neither one of these products are good for you, right, then we'll just say, yeah, it's probably not a good fit. You should probably start doing this before you jump on board and start paying money.
Well, it's definitely a good strategy. I think like anything else, we tend to spend our own time figuring things out on our own before we realize that we might want to invest a little bit in some time saving activities. I know we do that in our office a lot. Poor Sydney, we make her try out every product that she uses, like Canva or, you know, different things she uses for our marketing, and like, prove to me you need the pro version. So anyway, I think that's a good value when you look at it as a cost value of time, making these contacts on your own, because I've certainly done that and spent hours and hours and hours in the evenings manually having conversations that I don't have automated like that. Anybody online have any questions? Unmute yourself.
I don't have any. That was really great information. Appreciate it.
No, it was pretty good.
Awesome. And we did record that. Did you have any final wrap up?
I don't, Dave.
Nope, that's pretty much it. Thanks, Jeff. We we always appreciate having the opportunities. So thanks for letting us do it.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you guys too. I mean, that's why we do these trainings, is just to kind of like give people ideas, offer some value that might help their business. Obviously, we can't take advantage of everything that comes across our way. But if this is a niche, or this is a platform like LinkedIn that you want to get better at, then this might apply to you, and it might not. So, but that's what we're doing, is just sharing that information. And just to talk about what Matt said about making, and Dave, about making relationships. You never know who you're going to meet. So tonight we're doing our first home buyer workshop to help you guys bring your friends, families, potential clients, just to learn what's going on and navigate this crazy market we're in. I'm going to have my lender here. We're just going to kind of talk about the market conditions, and presenting offers is so different today. But the reason I bring that up is I did a home buyer workshop over 10 years ago. And I was out showing properties yesterday to the mom of somebody I met 10 years ago, doing a home buyer workshop, helping her buy a property. And then she got married, and I helped her and her husband sell their properties and buy their family home. And I'm still doing business off of one. And I'm serious, I only did one. One home buyer workshop when I first got licensed. And I'm still doing business from that one relationship. So we're doing that tonight. It's the same Zoom link, 6 o'clock tonight. We are going to be here live in the office as well. So you guys that are local. And that's all we really got. Unless anybody has any other final questions or final thoughts, we're going to let you guys go, and we're going to visit here a little bit with the people in the office. All right. So, seems like we're good. Love you guys. Reach out if there's anything I can do for you. Good seeing you.
See you.
Okay, take care.